You can see the larger tent covered with colorful fabrics and draped with almost tapestry quality of pieces that frame the interior. You duck beneath the hanging canvas opening, passing beneath into the space beyond. There, the noises from outside slowly fade as you see the interior and are met by the occupant. Passing within, you see magic flames cast a reddish glow over the interior of this tent, revealing a low table covered in black velvet cloth. Glints of light seem to flash from a crystal ball on the table as a hunched figure peers into its depths. As the crone speaks, her voice crackles like dry weeds. "At last you have arrived!" Cackling laughter bursts like mad lightning from her withered lips.
Are you Madame Ava?
That depends, my dear.
On what?
On whether you're Oriana Elvin,
Amity sort of turns to her companions a little bit excited. She knows my name. I do. I am.
Well met then, tale teller, soul speaker, bringer of amity. Well met to my tent.
Amity sort of hops in.
She turns as each of you kind of fold yourselves into the tent, the dark, cramped space. She nods toward Kiva. And you, Kiva Severlai, survivor of Shadow's scars and wielder of Fairy's fury, well met to you as well, my dear.
Kiva looks a little unsettled, but like sort of half curtsy, bows politely, and just thank you, Madame Ava. It's a pleasure.
Indeed. She turns toward Erthrindir. And Erthrindir Iariel, forsaken of the inner sea and scholar of the old songs, oh yes, I've been waiting for you as well.
How? I don't do them justice, but I try.
Justice is all we can attempt in this world. And as for you, and she turns, Punch, or shall I say Metreon, as you may prefer, false magician, bolt thrower, vassal of the undying king, you are welcome in my tent this day.
What?
Metreon looks up and his skin has returned to that kind of olive color. But he looks up at her and looks shell-shocked when she mentions that last part. Yeah, what?
Indeed. And, of course, she turns. Lillison Winterstar, the silver-tongued, the poison-scaled, oh, and touched by the mists. Welcome to my humble tent, dearie.
Lillison's face is contorted in anger for a moment. And then she takes a deep breath and says, I had thought that perhaps you simply had many ears among these woods, but that, I see, is not the case. Thank you for your welcome, all-seeing one.
Of course, my dear, it is a pleasure to have you. Mother Night whispers many things of your trials, of your journeys. But then again, perhaps that is why you have come. Perhaps you have come to have your fortunes read, yes?
We need to. We gotta know. We gotta know if we even have a chance.
Well, that myself I cannot answer, but perhaps With a flourish of her hand, there is a worn deck of cards in her palm. The Tarokka can shed light on the shadows that lay in your paths. Her old hands working deftly. The old crone removes 14 cards from the top of the deck, setting them aside. The remaining cards she shuffles nimbly, twice, 3 times, 4. She regards you calmly with her dark, quiet eyes. You will have to forgive me. The practice of communing is long and can be difficult. Stay to the light, and do not breach the silence until the sight has spoken. Do you understand, my dears?
Amity does a little zipper thing over her mouth and Truffle's mouth and nods.
Good. Then, and she sets both decks upon the surface of the velvet table. Let us begin. Closing her eyes, she places her right hand over the surface of the larger deck. The crimson flames dim and swirl in eldritch patterns as her lips move silently, a distant tension spreading through the air. The sounds of the rustling trees and rippling pool beyond the tense walls begin to dim, the external world growing mute and insubstantial as the space within grows more solid, somehow more real. Slowly, reverently, the crone draws 3 cards from the top of the deck, laying them face down separately on the table, with a second laid between and above its partners. She then moves to the smaller deck, drawing 2 more cards. The first she places below the first 3, forming a cross. The second she places in the center. The lights of the candles sway like silhouettes, leaning in toward the cards like anxious watchers. Yet the air in the tent is perfectly still. No light intrudes through the seams in the tense walls. No voice rings out in the silence. Shadows and mist swirl at the boundaries of the tent where the darkness of deepest night dwells, but here, at its center, where you stand, light yet reigns. The crone then moves her wrinkled hand to the leftmost card, the first. She closes her eyes and tilts her head, as if listening to an unspoken word. The arcane lights swirl and then shift, their colors changing to a deep, piercing blue. This card tells of history. Knowledge of the ancient will help you better understand your enemy. And she flips the card. The cerulean light dances across its surface, revealing an illustration of a squat man in a cleric's robe and hat, his head illuminated by a halo. His hand is raised, his fingers curl like a shepherd's crook. The master of glyphs, the priest. Her dark pupils shift from side to side as though reading from an unseen text. You will find what you seek in the castle, amid the ruins of a place of supplication. She moves her hand to the second card, this one at the top of the cross. As she closes her eyes and listens once more, the candlelight flares, its color bursting into a fierce, cheery yellow. This card tells of a powerful force for good and protection, a holy symbol of great hope. She flips the card. This time, the light reveals a new illustration. A bearded man beside an anvil wearing a workman's apron. In his right hand, he holds a hammer. In his left, he flips a gleaming coin. The 5 of coins, the guild member. Her eyes stare deep into the shadows that lurk in the corners of the tent. I see a dark room full of bottles. It is the tomb of a guild member. She moves her hand to the third card at the right arm of the cross, her eyelids closing like a trance, her lips pursed in quiet contemplation. The candlelight vanishes for a heartbeat, and then returns in a nova of fierce, burning white, so pure and strong and clean that it hurts to look at, burns to see. Madame Ava's eyes snap open, burning with a fierce determination. This is a card of power and strength. It tells of a weapon of vengeance, a sword of sunlight. And she flips the card. The light reveals a third illustration. A woman clad in a mystic's hood, flanked by dark candles that burn with smoke and incense. Her hand is outstretched, her palm facing an unconscious man beneath her, lying upon a bed, his forehead pierced by 3 needles. The 3 of glyphs, the healer. The crone's voice is strong with purpose. Look to the west. Find a pool blessed by the light of the white sun. She moves to the 4th card, at the bottom of the cross, and listens once more, tracing small circles across its back as she hums a contemplative note. The magic flames leap and dance upon their wicks, now casting swirling violet embers into the air, as the walls of the tent gleam with the shimmer of twilight. This card says, sheds light on one who will help you greatly in the battle against darkness. She flips the card. This time, the illustration revealed is not a man, but a beast. A black-winged raven perches atop a branch, its head circled by the white light of the full moon. Beside it rests a lonely gravestone, encircled by shadow. The Queen of Clubs, the raven. Madame Ava leans forward. Find the leader of the feathered ones who live among the vines. Though old, he has one more fight left in him. Finally, she moves her hand to the 5th card and nearly recoils, her brow furrowing until the wrinkles split her forehead like a trench. Behind her, shadows encircle the candlelight until the light itself is very nearly swallowed by the creeping dark. When next she speaks, Madame Ava's rasping voice is scarce above a whisper. Your enemy is a creature of darkness, whose powers are beyond mortality. This card will lead you to him. Her hand trembles above the card for a silent moment, and then deft, ancient fingers reveal its opposite side. In the darkness, the 5th and final illustration is only barely visible through the smoke and unnatural murk. Upon the card's surface dwells a depiction of a strange eldritch bell jar, stood upon a table and sealed to hold a strange gray liquid. Beyond the glass, suspended in the muck, floats a human skull with a dark, hollow gaze, its scalp carved with sigils of profane arcanum. Madame Ava slowly exhales. The first Joker, the artifact. He lurks in the darkness where the morning light once shone, a sacred place. And as the last syllable passes her lips, the old woman freezes, and then rocks back in her chair, her eyes rolling until their whites gleam like pearls in the darkness. And then she snaps back, the candlelight burning down to its ordinary crimson glow. The sound of the outside world returns, the voices of the Vistani, the crackling of the bonfire, the whisper of the wind, and the lapping of the waves against the shores of the pool. Light, gray and insubstantial, filters in once more through the canvas walls of the tent, and you feel yourselves breathe for the first time since the reading began. Madame Ava says nothing. She only regards you silently, with dark, patient eyes.